G'day, Kevin Chapman here again. Today, or this evening, I've lost count of the days, I'm going to do an abstracted or expressive or contemporary, all these words, Seascape. I'm basing it on an English painter by the name of Patricia Sadler. I've moved it around, changed it a bit, colour, two pictures that I've pulled off Google Images of sea and rocks, slightly different colour, the browns and so forth. Because of these videos, I'm normally doing smallish ones. I hope later to do some larger pictures once I get used to this. This is all new to me, and I haven't sworn yet. So, okay, again, this is Bockingford, 425 grams, 200 pounds, cold pressed watercolour paper. And I mean, there are so many variations of watercolour to choose from. Now, I don't know if you can see some of the texture. It was an old demonstration, and then I've painted it over with some white acrylic primer, and it leaves different textural marks. In my own paintings, I do apply acrylic mediums to actually have the texture on the surface before I paint. So, just another way. I hope the microphone's working this time. I forgot to turn the bloody... Oh, geez, I forgot to turn it on. So, I've got the same colours as I've done two other videos now, all new to me. I'm using De La Rowney System 3 and Winsor & Newton Galleria. So I've got, I hope you can see all that. I've got white, yellow ochre, raw sienna, burnt sienna, and that's supposed to be purple, but to me it's magenta, as I keep saying, phthalo green, ultramarine blue, and Prussian blue. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm using a 1-inch house painting brush, plus a couple of so-called normal, I mean, these are sold as oil painting brushes, for goodness sake. Any brush you can paint with. And at the moment, my favourite palette knife. So, in these pictures here, there isn't a lot of sky, but I'm going to put some sky and a bit in the flavour of her. But, okay, a spritz first, just to get it moist. And this is going to be sort of continual movement painting. So I'm going to take a big hunk of white, right, and slosh it, and a big bit of green, and slosh it. Who said sky has to be blue? A little bit of magenta, and the ultramarine, it turns into a purple, right? So I can put these shapes in. That's quite transparent. So white and a bit of yellow ochre. So what if it turns green? You know, green skies in, I turn, look, I'm moving the brush around. How do you know when the sky is right? I have no idea. A bit of ultramarine and a bit of the burnt sienna, a grey, and a little bit of magenta into it to give it a pinky grey, okay? So I'm going to put some dark through here, move it round. I'm not sure whether there's too much of a glare on there. I wonder if I turn that light off. I don't know. Anyway, is it better like that? It's a bit of a glare, isn't it? Is that better? Okay, I'll give that a go. So, a little bit more white, a little bit of phthalo, just a smidgen. Look, there's the paint. It's semi-mixed on here, okay? So, I'm going to put some up here. You make your own skies up until you're happy. I'm doing it fairly thick. A little bit of white, right? A little bit of the grey, bit more of the blue, bit of Prussian blue into it, bit of magenta. Look, it's all sort of semi-mixed on this brush. Up there. Big slope. make these marks. See what happens. A little bit of magenta down here. A little bit of white over it. A little bit of cad yellow. Make these shapes. Now I'm going to pick up the palette knife. A little bit of white. A little bit of yellow ochre. So I want a bit of light here. Look. A little bit of the green and white. A little bit of grey. You can make noises when you do it. A little bit of blue. A magenta. A bit more magenta up here. Scissor it. Shapes. Back to the brush. Bit of white. A little bit of yellow ochre. A little bit of the green. A little bit of the blue grey. So I'm going to start with these marks. And take the paint out, and I start to soften wherever you want it. I don't know, it's movement. Bit of magenta along the bottom here. Up and down. I splatter sometime. Now I'm going to put Prussian blue, ultramarine and magenta. I'm going to push up, like this one here, or this rough water. So I'm pushing into it and softening it. Still wet. Doesn't have to be totally straight. Now a bit of yellow ochre and phthalo and green and blue, sort of all semi-mixed. Make a mark. Now a bit of sienna, and I want some rocks. So I'm pushing in with this sienna. I'm going to splatter, let it run down. A little bit of the grey there. Splatter it. A little bit of magenta. Hit it. Ah! It's the time. It's the times we live in. A bit more. So I want some rocks here. Shapes. I like runs sometimes. Right. White. Blue, bit more blue, it's turning into the foreshore here. Shapes, I'm going to spritz it to get some more runs. Now I'm going to lift up some rocks into here. Look at the marks it already makes. Sienna, crimson, blue. So there are rocks out here. They can be blue rocks. I'm going to hit it. My mark, bit more blue, sienna, all of those. Another rock here, this one, that one, bit of green in it. Hit it, move it, bit of splattering. Well, that didn't come out there, so I have to do it manually. Right, bit of blue, Prussian blue, bit of sienna, and I'm just going to hit this brush here. Don't go bloody backwards. Whoops, I swore again. Look. Bang, 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 bang. Marks. And a little bit of white, yellow ochre, and a little bit of the phthalo, a bit of turquoise. I'm going to splatter some turquoise in here. And just let it run through. A bit of white and that turquoise. A little bit of light out here. See, I'm taking that. Some marks. Where they go, I have no idea. Now, I'm building up with a palette knife, white, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of the green off-white. Right, now, there's a wave coming across there. I'm going to take this big dollop, see, and start here and go. You can hear the noise of the rough paper. And make these shapes up. I hit it and up into there. And now a bit of green and blue and red and pull it down, hit it. Now another wave, not white yet, right? Here, these, so I take the thing on its edge and let that run down. I've got to clean the brush. Look at the marks that the running paint makes. I love it. Shapes. That's still white of the paper, a little bit of phthalo green, a little bit of yellow ochre. So put that across there. Mark. A little bit of Prussian blue, brown, or black, Sienna. And I want a few dark shapes here, this rock, anywhere along here. There are little rocks there. So I take, look, see the mixture on there, the different mixture on the palette knife. So I'm going to touch it and push it and scrape it. And a blob of rocks here in front. Look, it sort of squishes along the paper. And a bit of sienna now. I'm going to pull some shapes down for this scumbling. All these lovely sloppy marks. Clean the palette knife. There's water coming in amongst here. So a bit of white, yellow ochre, and I'm going to pull it as it comes in here. Look, I'm going to go across. It's a smudge. Turn it, touch it. Make marks. Look at these little marks. They're different sorts of palette knife marks. So down here, a little bit of white. It'll blend in because it's still wet. So a bit of Prussian blue, ultramarine blue, a bit of burnt sienna, and a bit of magenta. So I'm going to put a dark rock. I touch it there and lift it up. I'm looking at this rock just to put it in. And now a mark. So the white stands out. The top of this rock is a bit lighter. White and yellow ochre with a little bit of green and sienna. I'm going to pull it across this rock. Tap it. And now scrape it back. A little bit of sienna and magenta in this rock. Down and in there, and I pull the shape down. The mark. And now a little bit of dark here. Prussian blue and green and magenta. So pull it down, the shape of the rock. And now a bit more sienna. And pull this, I think I'm going to dry it a little bit. I want another bit of white water, so now white with a smidgen there. So I'm going to put, there's some out here, so back here I'm going to scissor and put a couple of waves back out there, hitting it. And now some white, big dollop of white, right? This one here, I'm going to lift it up like this. See, I'm looking at different shapes, taking some of these from there, but mostly from here. So I'm going to pull this white there and go up, marks, and a bit more, tap it, makes a different mark. So I like that line there, the shapes. So I'm going to dry it a little bit now. For the runs, you can see here, there. It's the beauty of acrylic, it dries quickly. Righto, that'll do, let's get on with it again. So, this little bit of white there, so I take the edge of the palette knife, there's the white, and I go here. I'm just going to push it, and now pull it down, roll it, and puts the light underneath, so pull it, scratch, and a little bit of that lovely green in there. And I want the water coming down here, so white with a little bit of yellow ochre. And I'm going to pull across from here. And a little bit more over the top. There. Makes marks of the water with the importance of what's underneath. Here, go that way. There, shapes of this water coming in here. Or in here. Now, there's a big boulder there I quite like, so a bit of sienna. And I'm going to do this shape here. That boulder, pull it down and look at the shape. A little bit of light, magenta, blue, turn it into a dirty purple, grey. And the slope of the rock back there, now sort of blend it in. Touch it. At the bottom, there's some dark. So go up And look at that, maybe I touch my wrist. Texture on the rock. And down here, there's some more Sienna-y rocks here. So put some shapes and scrape it. And some more Sienna-y rocks across here. Marks. And there's a bit of white water coming in here. So I'll put that, it comes across here. So I'm just going to start with this roll of white, mostly on that side, and come across. Give shapes. And even sort of hitting, I don't know what the mark's going to do, so if I hit this, it'll do, oh, look at that. And I hit it here. Marks, shapes, and a little bit more. I'm running out of dark. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of dark here. And then scrape off some. And scrape it down and across. And a little bit of, I like that little bit of white there. So it gives it a little bit of an accent. And a little bit of other colours. Tap little bits of solid green through there. Little bit of light on that rock. And then just hit it, smudge it, or take my finger, tap it, or my fingernails. Some people don't like that. Now, there's some dark in here. I'm going to put a bit of a mark for a rock there. And a few little rocks here. A few little rocks here. How many out there? A little bit of sienna on that rock. See, there's still bits of white of the paper coming through. So a little bit of blue out here, another dark, and scrape. See, that puts that little bit of light. So I'm going to scratch a few marks into it. Expressive, that's what this is, an expressive painting. That one there, pull it out a bit, another mark. So this one, I quite like that little bit of light on that rock there, shape and a mark. So that I quite like this. It's sort of quite light, I don't know, I like it. Why shouldn't I say I like it? Little bit of white. It's always difficult talking about art. There's too many people that tell fibs. And, So I'm going to put a little bit of green in there, soft, just to take that shape. A few other little marks in the sky. And a couple of, with a Mankey brush, there's a nice wave coming up there. So I'll put a shape and down, little mark there, maybe a little bit more white there, or off-white. Touch it, a few marks. Sketch, mark, shape. Roll the brush, turn it and roll. See how I roll it to mush it. A couple of scratch marks, shapes. But even then, what's underneath here is just as important. And a little bit of sienna, almost watercolour-y like. Okay, and a little bit of raw sienna, burnt sienna, almost, and I'm going to splatter across here with this. Up and down in there, a few bits here, even some little splatters in the water, the shapes. So, touch it with my finger. It's always difficult not to overwork. So, I want a little bit of light in the water, so Mankey brush against this rock. A little bit of light against the rock, so I take that and pull it out. And then put little marks with a Mankey brush around it, like she's done here. A little bit of splattering of white in there. It brings light through it, brings movement, and so forth. I love doing paintings like this. Energy, bang, bang, wallop. Okay, That'll do. I'll turn it off now, put it onto some other paper instead of all this manky background and have a look at it. Okay. Okay, take two. Almost done. I've put this bit of sugar paper. Because I use paint splattered boards, when you put it onto the sugar paper, it gives it the edges. Now, it's almost dry. I'm just going to move slightly, just soften off one of those edges with a bit of white so it's not so sharp. And little tickle-ups of colour. I like working with my hand and fingers. A few little linear bits for that. Where's my rag? The edge of the wave. I just sort of give it a little bit of softness to dry. And just put a few little spumes out round it. Gives it a bit more shape. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Up there, a little bit of white. Gives it a bit of character. Those shapes. A little bit of white across there, up against that rock. A little bit of white in front of that rock. Maybe a squirt or two there. A little bit darker of Prussian and Sienna down here. A couple of marks under that rock. Maybe a blob there. Move it past the water, the edge of this rock down here, wherever that little bit of shadow in there. Shape of the rock, not too much, don't want it too literal. And a little bit of shadow where that water is just sort of, it's probably splashed up there. And a scissor mark, a little bit of sienna, just to yellow ochre, just to warm it up, a couple of marks. See, they just lift it up a bit. There's quite a bit in this photograph down there of rock shapes, little dots, marks, and that will be it. Whoops, just a little bit of light on that rock. Get in there. Soft. So the you should see the get it right, Chapman. You should see the sky a little bit clearer with it as it dries, not so reflective. And I'm going to put a smidgen of white just there. There's a wave coming in. Look at that, just that little bit. There's a bit of green on the white. There's another couple of little white caps out there, through there, maybe a little bit there. Just gives it a bit of distance and so forth. I like the sweep. Look, these expressive skies. When do you stop? You saw me, boom, 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 boom. When do you stop? Mixing colours, don't always look at sky. Look at Constable's sketches, for goodness sake. The sky, the movement, the marks. It does take confidence, yes, but unless you practice and push yourself. If you don't like this, maybe you might if you gave it a go. Is it a sketch? Is it a finished painting? To me, it's a finished painting. So that all of these elements, splattering, dribbles, mark making, texture. Later on, I'm going to do some bigger pictures where I'll splatter and scrape and maybe sandpaper. Please, this is new to me. If you like it, comment. If you want to ask questions, comment. And please don't forget, as my son, Dad, tell them, please don't forget to subscribe. I think that's it. I'm going home to dinner. That'll do.